Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
Okay, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Cowabunga, Katrina.
Hello.
And we've got Jack and the Beanstalk, Joel. Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up?
Right, we are back in full force. The last few episodes have been either just me and Joel or me and Katrina. We're all three here for the final episode in our Insidious franchise reviews. And this is the 2023 brand new one.
Yep.
Insidious, The Red Door.
The Red Door.
Yeah, the door is red.
It's red. Yep.
All right, Joel, who is a part of this one?
All right, so this one stars Patrick Wilson. He was in the movie adaptation of The A-Team. Also The Founder, which is the story of McDonald's, how it got started.
Mm-hmm.
And our most recent came out last year, like natural disaster type movie called Moonfall, which literally the moon falls. So it's a very clever name.
Yeah. Quite a disaster.
Yeah. Also Ty Simpkins, who, so he's got a pretty interesting story. He was born in 2001. And he was in a soap opera called Guiding Light from 2001 to 2005. So for the first 4 years of his life, he was a part of a show. So he's been acting. He's literally a child actor. So
yeah,
can't get much more.
Actor.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not very common. Like, I feel like, when there's babies, especially in TV shows, they don't use the same baby. Yeah.
Yeah. But soap operas are on every day. Yeah. So he was probably on 47 consecutive episodes. So, well, no, because it was 01 through 05. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine, being someone who has watched many soap operas, I imagine there were, only a few episodes where he was an infant and then he grew up, they grow up pretty fast in the shows.
Yeah. Yeah, they grow up fast in the shows, but like he was on there for 4 years. So it's just because soap operas are on every day. So they're literally, so I don't know, like he was on maybe 10 episodes a year or something. But I don't know how that works.
Crazy.
Yeah. He was also an Iron Man. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just can't say. He was also in Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, which is an action comedy, which is pretty funny.
Nice.
Yes. And then we got a newcomer to the Insidious franchise, Sinclair Winslow. She plays Chris. And she was in a TV movie called One December Night. I don't know anything about it. Really any of these. Madam Secretary for one episode, and an episode or a TV series that is not out yet. It's in post-production called The Other Black Girl, which she's in 9 episodes.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. And we got Lee Winnell coming back for the franchise, only for the story. He didn't write anything though, but he wrote The Invisible Man, Dead Silence, and Saw. And then we got the actual writer who did the screenplay, Scott Teems.
Oh, yeah.
Which he has. I feel like we've talked about him more than he's actually like done work, because he's really only done Halloween Kills and Firestarter. I feel like he's done a lot more than just those, but that's what it says here.
Well, he's doing The Exorcist.
Yeah, but just the story for that. He's not actually writing that one either.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah, I looked that one up, and that one's got like 4 writers. So, well, 3 writers. So, Exorcist also 2023. And then this was directed by Patrick Wilson, and he's got no other movies, past or present, or
Wow.
future.
Hmm.
So nothing coming out, or he's just the one and done thing. I guess he just wanted to try it out. I guess.
Yeah, I think he'll get more work.
Yeah.
But I know when this was announced, he had said like this is like a passion project for him.
Mm-hmm.
The Insidious franchise has, I guess, been really important to him. He's Josh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty cool that he was able to direct one.
Yeah, it's cool that this franchise has gotten 2 first-time directors in it, because this was Lee Winnell's first. Insidious Chapter 3 was his first movie he ever directed too, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, that is cool. All right, so the description: the Lamberts must go deeper into the further than ever before to put their demons to rest once and for all.
Oh man,
It says nothing about the movie other than the Lamberts are back,
are in it,
in this one. So,
and the further's in this movie.
The further is part of this movie.
Just in case we were concerned about that.
Might switch things up. Okay, so why don't you tell us about the ratings?
Yeah, so far the ratings are at for Rotten Tomatoes, for the tomato meter, we've got 38%.
Wow.
It is rotten.
Jeez. Critics do not like these movies.
Yeah. But for the audience score, it's at 69%.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And yeah, for IMDb, it is 6 out of 10.
Okay. 6.0. Huh?
Mm-hmm. 6.0.
Okay. It's respectable.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, the critics didn't like it. Or they
never do. They don't like horror movies in general.
Yeah.
They always do that with horror movies.
Yeah. And I think a 38% is pretty average for these movies.
For the series.
That's true.
But that's usually like years down the line, though. Like that's not starting out. That's, I mean, I guess.
Yeah. So the thing is for being what, the fifth movie in the series, to still be at around the same as what they've been throughout is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Better than a couple of them, because it wasn't one of them like 22 or something.
Yeah, one of them was in the 20s for sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I would say, getting into our likes and dislikes, I would say that makes sense. I think this is on par with, quite a few of the movies in the franchise. It's not the worst. I wouldn't say it's not the best.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's not a bad movie.
No, it's not.
So, we're not going to get into spoilers till the end.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk, generally give our rating and then talk about spoilers. But I think my opinion is if you're invested in the characters, like if you care about the Lamberts, you care about Josh and, Dalton and, their whole
just the family in general. Yeah.
Then you'll enjoy this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you care about them at all, then you'll enjoy the movie. Because I think this one really digs into the family dynamics more than some of the other films.
Oh, yeah.
And, those themes are there. It's still a horror movie. It's not like a family drama or something. But, but I think that there is more of that in this one. So I found that I liked the story and the characters and the, stuff that family dynamics the most out of this movie rather than the actual horror stuff. The horror stuff I think was, it was there. It was kind of good. Some of it was cliche and kind of, jump scarific, just like the other ones. But this one, they didn't do anything really new.
Yeah,
with the horror.
I think think with something with this one is I didn't feel like we've said all along throughout the series that the scares aren't like cheap jump scares and they're like very well placed and everything. This movie I think was the least of that quality. I think that this one had more of the just typical jump scares, not quite as well placed and you know, kind of used as a jump scare, not as like enhancing the movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there was several moments that I noticed in this movie that was like when you get a jump scare, it wasn't the what was going on; it was the music change. That was and that's to me that's a very cheap jump scare. It's like when it's not what's going on that makes you jump, but it's like it's so quiet and all of a sudden there's a loud noise and that's what gets you. There were several moments like that. There were a couple of good jump scares in this one, but overall, most of the jump scares were just like music changes and faces will appear like all of a sudden, but it's not the face that appears that makes you jump. It's the music in the background that just like
I would say it just still feels like an Insidious movie. I think the atmosphere and stuff, and I think there's some good tension, and leading up to the jump scares I think is good because you know a jump scare is coming, but it's not like when it's going to happen within that scene. You know it's coming, but I don't know, I found myself like kind of on edge during those moments. But the jump scare itself was not, didn't enhance the story, like you said. So there's a few scenes that we can talk about in the spoilers that I think did a good job with that stuff. The can't get really specific about anything. I would say, the horror just wasn't up to some of the other films. Didn't have that same scariness, I guess, as some of the other ones. Not all of them. I think it's scarier than the fourth one, in my opinion. But it's not as scary as a couple of the other ones.
It's more family drama than horror. So I'm fine with that, but it's it's because I do like this family, so I don't mind a little family drama in it. So that part didn't bother me at all. So, but I just kind of wish that there were more jump scares that weren't cheap. But that's really the biggest negative I think I have of this movie is some of the jump scares were just there to make you jump. Like it's not. They didn't really serve a purpose for the movie, or they were placed in a way that it was, like I was saying, the music that made you jump. So, but overall, this was a pretty solid addition to the franchise.
No, go ahead. You had something to say.
Well, I was going to say on the lines of the family dynamic and everything, I think that's probably what I value most about this movie is that they stuck to the dynamics of the family from the original, and the things that changed went with what happened
it was
through the film. And it was all explained, and it made sense. It all made sense, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is what happened. And I feel like a big part of these movies is kind of showing the effects of how if we change one thing, this is how it's going to affect everything. And especially with how they connected 1 and 2, and showing those dynamics of like, oh, that was him in
Right,
one,
right.
you know,
Mhm.
doing that.
Yeah.
And I feel like this went back to that kind of same style
Mhm,
of, oh, because of this,
mhm,
then this is what has happened
Mhm.
because of it all.
right.
And then like bringing more of that in as he's processing things.
Yeah.
Um
So I've heard a number of reviews, YouTubers and stuff, and a lot of them have said that this movie basically does nothing for the franchise, and you basically it doesn't matter. You know, there was no need for it, and I
Yeah.
100% disagree with
Mhm.
the way this movie ends. I think changes things.
Mhm.
And, you know, the people have argued that, oh, it's basically number two again, or, you know, doesn't do anything. But no, I would say the way it ends is it's nice. I
Yeah.
well,
think it ended how it should end.
well, and it shows what happened to these young kids
Yeah.
as they're now getting into adulthood.
Yeah.
Like I think that that's like pretty powerful because you know that all of this stuff happened for Josh, dad, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know from 1 and 2 that he was experiencing these things around the same age as Dalton in the first and second movie. And so now you get to see how Dalton is later on
Mhm.
in going into adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, like they could have ended the story with the second one with with their memory of the further getting wiped out. You would
Yeah.
think at some point in time though that would come back. Um, like your memory. I don't know. There's
After,
got to be more to it than just like, oh, you're going to be hypnotized and
yeah.
you're not going to remember it anymore. Like
Yeah.
9 years is kind of a long time to not remember that something
Yeah.
so horrific to your to your life
Yeah.
Yeah. I
that
feel like
eventually it would come back at some point, like in some way.
after watching this one, I feel like the end of two is just kind of lazy.
Yeah,
It's
I
just like,
mean, it
oh,
kind of
let's
is.
hypnotize you
I guess
and you
you won't
remember. Like,
remember.
it's kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's what they did with Josh. Like
Yeah,
with
as a
his
kid, yeah,
yeah. So it's
Well,
like they're just doing it all over again. So
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but it made sense why they did it all over again because it worked for a very long time with Josh.
hmm
yeah.
And I think that the difference was with Josh, it was just him.
Mhm.
Um, and it was, you know,
his
it
mom.
was before anything too severe happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
there
that
Mhm.
was
wasn't
the
really a
difference.
reason for
Yeah,
him
it
to
was like,
remember it
yeah,
Yeah.
because
until
it
his
was
son.
like, okay, we're noticing these things are happening in pictures, so
Yeah,
let's hurry up and do this now
yeah,
before he
Mhm.
got like stuck and like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give too much away. Once we talk
right.
about spoilers, we'll go further in depth with that.
Go further. Ah.
Ha
Yeah,
ha.
I mean, I don't know. I heard a lot of people just complain about how it's a pointless movie and the
Yeah.
franchise. It's just a money grab or whatever. And I just disagree. I think it's a good addition to the franchise.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about why more, why I feel that way more. But I think it has to do with the themes that it's going for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I think there's other movies that you could say were less significant
Yeah.
to the franchise than
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, three, no. Yeah, I guess three.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a mid. Like three is one of my favorite ones, but
Yeah.
it's not, you know, it's not necessary for the franchise. And if you look at horror, this is the fifth movie. Like, how many horror franchises have gone on for so long And do you just like, if you're one of those reviewers, do you just not like any of the movies after like the third one? Because
Mm-hmm.
most
How often?
franchises go on too long.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have movies that are pointless, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it's not really a fair critique of the movie, especially because there is something at the end that does change the franchise. But if you're
Mhm.
gonna make that critique, you got to make that critique across the board, and give that
Yeah.
critique to all horror films that are in franchises for too long.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Insidious started out so strong
Yeah.
that I wonder if the other ones get critiqued even harder
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
of how strong it started out.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I said, you have to be invested in the family, and I think us watching the movies right before seeing this one did help.
mhm.
Because we were right there within the thick of the story.
Mhm.
So I think if you're gonna go see this, you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend at least watching 1 and 2,
Yeah.
then go see it,
Mhm.
because I think you'll enjoy it more right after watching those rather than I remember what happened.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
So I would say that too.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready to give it a grade?
Well, I'll say I do have one other.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a negative.
Okay.
Or disappointment.
Okay.
I
It's even worse.
yeah. I really missed the 2 ghost hunter guys.
Oh, that's a spoiler.
Oh,
Yeah. We
They
haven't
may or may
mentioned-
not be in this movie. We don't know.
Yeah.
oh, that's a spoiler because they're not in the cast.
Well,
Did you miss that?
Cast.
Yeah.
Okay, delete that out. I do not want to be a spoiler.
Okay.
Delete that out.
Yeah. Well, they may or may not
Edit.
be in the movie.
No, edit.
Okay.
Okay, let's grade it.
Let's grade it. All right.
So I don't know if that's gonna change your how you graded this now, but I don't know.
I haven't even thought of a grade.
Okay, Joel. We'll
I
start
couldn't
with
even
you.
remember the movie at first.
Oh man, that's not a good start to.
It's been a long time since we
95.
saw
I
it.
don't even
Yeah.
remember.
So are
All
we
right,
gonna
cool.
rank them too? Rank the franchise?
Yeah, if you guys want to at the end of this episode. I don't want to do a separate one.
Oh yeah.
For that.
Gosh, I have
It's
to
not in-
remember all of them.
I gave you a list of all your grades.
Oh, you did?
did?
Yeah.
But I mean, I know you did. But was that after we did Insidious and everything?
Well, I think the last key was or not the last. Yeah. Yeah, you should have one for the last key, which was the last one that we did.
Did you,
so.
I guess
did
I
you
better
send
do my
us
homework.
a summary of our thoughts?
Yeah, I needed
of all the movies that we've ever
transcribe
Yeah.
summary.
So I do have my list in front of me right now. So,
Okay.
Joel is doing his homework over here.
I'm trying. Like that took
We're
a
on
long,
vacation.
Yeah. Took a long time to go from the first episode all the way down to the last to go through and see all the grades. So it's done a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
That's great entertainment, though. Like,
It is.
I think everybody should do that. Everybody should go back and listen to all the episodes.
yeah,
all the
Make a
grades,
list of all of our grades.
Make a list. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And call
actually
us out
agree.
if we.
see. I was gonna say I actually disagree with that because my grades are all over the place.
They really
And
are.
it's like-
You gotta look at your
Yeah.
list.
They really are. Joel's like, I have proof.
Oh my gosh!
Although
Yeah,
from
there's
the-
some movies I'm like, wow, I gave that a really high score.
Like fear.
although
Yeah.
like with all of us pretty much from like day one all the way to where we're at, like some of those movies shouldn't have been as high or as low as they were. So I don't know.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also just like depending on where we're at right in that
Yeah.
moment and like what spoke to us about this. Like some of the movies I'm like, oh, there was a theme in that movie that I really liked. And so I gave it a super high score. And then it's like,
a week later, you're like, what?
Really?
It wasn't that good of a movie.
Yeah. And like, they didn't even do that theme that well.
Well, and the more movies you watch, your taste develops and changes. And so, yeah, we've been doing this for 3.5 years. So, 3.5 years ago, it was a different time.
We were different people. Like, it was just...
Oh, I was a totally different person in respect to like horror movies.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't get promoted onto the show until
not until you were knowledgeable on the horror
I had
franchise.
to mature. Yeah.
She had a test.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man.
All right.
Okay.
What do you got, Joel?
So based on where I'm going to be putting this movie and my scores that I gave the other ones, I'm giving this one an 89.
All right.
Okay.
That's very good. That's a very good score.
Yeah.
I mean, all.
I think he's been in the 90s.
Well, I don't know.
Twice. I've been in the 90s twice for this franchise.
Okay. Yeah.
Out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to do my ranking already? Like, okay, well,
okay.
I'm gonna go. See, I don't have my list in front of me.
Wow.
I know.
Amateur hour.
I'm gonna go 86.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go 86.
Your turn.
Okay.
Something popped
We
up.
got an alert.
Oh,
really?
So
I was like, like silent.
Yeah. Okay. I have no clue what I've rated the other ones. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, but I know that they were in. I'm pretty sure they were in the 90s.
You had a couple of them in the 90s, I'm sure. You had like 1 or 2 in the 80s.
Okay, so I'm gonna give this one 87.
Wow.
Okay.
I had the lowest score?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, this was definitely one of I think I know where I'm gonna rate this one in the rankings.
All right.
And I want it to be above certain ones.
Okay.
So
sounds good.
Yeah.
Joel, what are you looking at over there?
He's trying to compare my scores
because I don't have your guys' episode down for the last one, so but based on the previous 3. Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious what my list is now. Okay, I better pull this up.
Okay, well, we're gonna try a new sound for the spoilers. Let's do this.
Okay, we've made it.
Oh man.
We've got Insidious the Red Door spoilers. All right. I can add more sounds, so I'll add a better sound.
I mean, that was kind of fun because it was like, woo, made it to the spoilers.
Okay, so right off the bat, something I didn't mention. I really like, well, I guess this is a spoiler. That first, I don't know if it's the first scene, but at the cemetery, where the camera, it's like flipping over or something. It like kind of got me dizzy for a second. Yeah. When it's like flipping over the tombstone. Yeah, that was
really cool.
Yeah. But I thought, a lot of the camera work was good. I liked that entire scene too, when I'm guessing it was his dad. We don't see exactly who it is in the background when he's in the car. And
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, there was somebody back there. And
Which is
I
weird
thought that
because
was
the door
creepy.
wasn't open yet. So I'm like, who,
Right.
what's going on here?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No.
Mhm.
Because the door was not painted.
No.
Well, I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember what I was thinking. It was, yeah. That is very true. The door was not open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not okay.
That was just to
Plot hole.
unnerve us to like, oh, what's
Yeah.
going on back there?
Well, it might not have even been somebody from the further. It could have just been a person.
Yeah.
Just a person at the
I
cemetery.
mean, we get a
I don't know why
special
that's
guest
creepy.
appearance at the very end of the movie. That's,
We do.
after the
Yeah.
door's closed. So
Yeah, she can do whatever she wants.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
And the ghost hunters were in it. They
Yeah.
were just briefly
Like a
in
YouTube video.
A YouTube video that Chris showed Dalton.
Oh,
Yeah. So
But
they were in
see,
it for a second.
this is the thing. So I guess what my point was that, and they don't know that we ever said any of this. So,
We'll see if I
Sure.
edit it correctly.
Okay, guys, if I did spoil something for you, I'm sorry. Okay, what I guess what I'm getting at is that the ghost hunters were like always the comedy relief of the
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like Chris was supposed to be that role.
Yeah.
Of kind of the comedy relief and the, I don't know, but her character just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, not really the wrong way, but it just was like, I don't know, one of those more, I guess it's a newer way of doing interactions and stuff. I don't know. I
Well,
just
they became
don't
friends
like,
so quickly.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
like all of a sudden they're opening up to each other,
Yeah.
and that whole thing,
Yeah.
of like,
No, tell me something
tell
weird.
me something weird about
Mhm.
yourself,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
and
I
it
don't know
jumps
you.
into these like really deep things, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, wow, that's a little more than just something weird about yourself. Like,
Mhm. Well, he was
I
bad at
paint
it,
my
so he
nails or
gotta.
something, but
Yeah.
He had to give her something. I liked her. I thought she was fun. Like it's it's. I don't know.
She
I
was
didn't
a
really.
entertaining character, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was her.
but it
point.
just didn't seem like
Yeah.
a real natural
Mhm.
I would
friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I don't see Dalton and Chris being friends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was like, it was forced, and it was
Yeah.
like this, he's coming to school like this total closed off, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
dark person, and then all of a sudden they're just friends.
Yeah.
And the whole interaction of like, oh, sorry, I'll go get a new room, and like, it just all seemed very not like a real interaction that you would have. And
Mhm.
every other movie, I felt like the interactions, the relationships, it all felt very natural.
Yeah.
And in this, it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little weird.
it was annoying.
I will say another negative that I have is kind of a negative for the franchise, and I think it's why it keeps its PG-13 rating. Is the stakes are not very high. So really the only person that has died is Elise. All the other characters
and she's
have
still
pretty
been in
much
all of them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she's still there.
It's like Jigsaw.
Yeah. I guess Josh's dad or mom.
Yeah. But
we
she
don't
died
see-
off screen.
But,
so that's like,
yeah, and
I'm guessing she
and of
died
old age,
naturally.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the stakes. I haven't felt, and I didn't feel in this one like Josh or Dalton actually had a chance of dying. I didn't think that was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
I was thinking they could have killed off Chris.
yes, and that would have been nice.
That would have raised
And I
my
think-
score a little bit.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and I think that would have added some more tension and stakes to the movie. But I think that might be why they keep the PG-13 rating, because there aren't many deaths in the movies.
Yeah.
So that could be, I don't know. I don't know if that like plays a role in the rating process, but
because they push it pretty hard
Yeah.
in like
yeah,
all of these movies,
Yeah.
to the point where someone even said the F word. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's
yeah,
you can't get much more. You would have to kill somebody off to get an R rating at that point. Like, it's just
Yeah.
you've already pushed it all
You've
the
done
way
everything
to
else.
its like limit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you possibly can.
Yeah.
So, and it wouldn't make sense 5 movies in the like all of a sudden have an R rated movie
Yeah.
in your franchise. You just
Yeah.
you gotta keep it the same rating. Like, at this point.
Right. So
yeah.
Joel, what did you think of the way the door was opened and closed?
I liked the way that it was opened. I liked that he went to his art school, art class, and like the whole look into yourself, and the whole countdown from 10. That made sense to kind of undo what happened to him 9 years ago.
Mhm.
To like kind of like look into himself and like get this memory of something that he doesn't remember anymore. I don't like how they closed it. I thought that was kind of cheap.
Just painting black
just
over it.
painting it over. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's okay. You could come up with something a little more clever than that. But I do like how they opened it. I do like how everything was started from that art class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that jump scare got me pretty bad.
Yeah.
When he started painting and then the hand
Mhm.
slams
Oh,
down.
yeah.
That
yeah,
one got
that was
That
a
was
good
good.
jump scare. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I loved how they opened it because and especially that counting down. My only beef with it was that the art teacher at the very beginning of the class
Yeah.
did this whole speech of like ripping up the art piece of someone else
Mhm.
and saying you need to go further and like you need to stretch yourself further than your past. You can't
Mhm.
focus on your past. And
Yeah.
then the whole next lesson was focusing on your
Mhm.
past to
Yeah.
create your inner beauty,
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, you totally just contradicted everything that you just said, and you
Yeah.
ripped up a person's art piece like that. Oh,
Well, she
I did
didn't
not.
rip one
Well,
up.
yeah, she
Did
didn't.
she wanted
Dalton.
him
She
to.
made. Oh yeah, she was telling him to.
Yeah, and he's like,
and
no.
so
And he was
then
like, get out
Dalton. Yeah.
So Dalton
And
did it
then
himself.
Dalton ripped it up himself, and oh my gosh, just the thought of a teacher telling a student to rip up their art piece. That was very dramatic. I mean, that was
That's the
fine. I don't
point.
have a beef with that.
Yeah.
But I have a beef with her statement around it.
Yeah. So what did you guys think? We'll start with you, Joel, of the Josh kind of discovering his father, and his father had the same power, I guess, and mental illness, and all that stuff.
It makes sense because his mom didn't have it, so like someone had to have it to kind of pass it on. So it made sense. There were a couple moments between Josh and Dalton that I didn't really like. There were some lines that were said from Josh to Dalton. I was like, okay, well, it was a little passive aggressive, and one of them was about his dad.
Yeah, at
about
least you have a dad or something like that.
Yeah, it could always be worse. Like, okay, that's not an okay line. Like, thing to say to your son who you abandoned basically for like years. It's like, that's not okay. And I don't know. I liked it because it made sense to the story. It made sense to like somebody had to have it in his family, but we didn't we had never heard about his dad at all. This is the
Mhm.
first time in like
Yeah.
the 3 movies that the Lamberts have been in that we've even mentioned
Yeah.
his dad, or the fact that he abandoned Josh when he was like
Yeah.
before he was born or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
he abandoned, he died, but so it kind of felt forced a little bit because we had no context whatsoever about his dad. We didn't hear one word about his dad, and all of a sudden this whole movie's about his dad. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I felt, was like right from the beginning, he's bringing up his dad.
yeah,
And like that statement of at least you had a dad and stuff. And it's like, we have never heard him be like show this distress about not having
Yeah.
a dad.
Mhm.
And he never mentioned it in the first or second movie.
No,
Of like, where is my dad, or like, I'm struggling with not having a dad or whatever.
Mhm.
You would think it would be like mentioned as like, I'm trying to be the best dad I can, but I don't have an example or something,
yeah, some sort of like throwaway line you could have used in like the first 2
Yeah.
movies to
Yeah.
give us something about his past.
Yeah.
But we get it
Yeah.
all in this movie.
But yeah. And so then it's like, and then the way he talks about it in this movie is as if he's struggled with it all these years.
Yeah.
And it's like, that has never been something that you've ever struggled with before.
So,
Yeah.
So the thing about that, though, is a couple of things. In the second movie, he wasn't himself. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wouldn't have talked about that.
No,
In the
yeah.
first movie, yes, it could have been brought up. But the reason I think he was so focused on it in this movie is because he was afraid of turning into his dad. So he was, struggling with being a father in this movie. He was dealing with the whole brain fog or whatever that he was, dealing with. So I think it was, these things were surfacing more in this movie than the other ones, which could be why he was talking about it more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think that can be explained. And so, it's fair to say that, okay, that's the explanation for it.
Yeah.
It just still felt like a little bit out of place at first,
He still
especially
felt
with how quick it was brought up.
Yeah, it was right away.
Yeah.
Those interactions, I just felt like the interactions with the characters were just not natural. The writing, I guess,
Scott Teams.
Yep. Scotty.
around those interactions with the characters, they just weren't natural.
Yeah.
They just they seemed forced.
Okay.
And we need to add this in.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't like a pre-planned storyline, from the second movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely something they had to throw in to add more to the story.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that scene where he's trying to like work on his memory? And so he puts up the pictures on the window and he's like flipping them over, trying to match them, and he's having a really hard time with doing
Yeah, he can't get one of them right. Like...
His memory is really bad.
Well, but it's not even just his memory that's bad, though. It's he wasn't doing it right. Like
No,
if
yeah.
he was,
Right.
He was trying it like once or twice, and gotta take them off.
Yeah, if he was keeping it like an actual, like how you actually play memory. I mean, how many of us have played memory as kids? That's not how you play. I guess so.
He never.
Yeah, but his mom could have taught him.
It's a dad game.
It is.
Memories.
He didn't get that in his childhood.
Yeah. But if he, I mean, you can't even say that it was his memory that was bad at that point. It was his lack of understanding of the game.
Well, no, his memory was bad because it was like, okay, Dalton, okay, Mom, Dalton, where's Dalton? Like, it was like 2 later. It was the one. It was
Yeah,
like, okay, you don't remember 5 seconds ago? Like,
it's just he was stressed out, and he had already seen Dalton 5 different times in 5 different places because
he kept changing them,
kept moving them around. So now you've just stressed yourself out.
He was really making it hard on himself.
Yeah,
kept moving like the same 5 cards. Like, you got a whole other side of the wall that you haven't touched.
But that stuff didn't bother me. I like that scene a lot because of the flipping of the pictures and seeing his dad out in the distance, and then he puts it down, and I thought that the way it was kind of playing with the audience was fun. I really like that. I don't know why he had to smash through the window.
I know.
I don't know why that had to happen.
Like, chase him up the stairs. Like, okay, dude, calm down.
And knock him down, and
I would have liked that scene more if it wasn't spoiled for me in the trailer. Like, they actually put that scene in there, even with like the window being smashed. So the whole time,
I don't think I saw all that.
Yeah, so it did get me because I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when it was coming. So I'm like, okay, I'm anticipating a jump scare because I already saw this one. But I'm not entirely sure where they're going to put it.
Yeah.
So it still got me because it still caught me off guard. But it didn't make sense that was his dad, like, chasing him, like he's an evil spirit or something. Like, I don't know.
That wasn't the point. His dad wasn't trying to take him or something.
Yeah.
So
so why do you have to be all aggressive and smash through the window and chase him up the stairs? Like, what do you...
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that part didn't really add up. And if I hadn't been so distracted by how he was playing this game, I may have taken it in
audibly
more.
saying in the theater, "It's not how you play."
I was getting really frustrated.
Because
I'm like, stop taking him down.
Like, stop the timer too. Like, what are you doing?
There were. It was funny because there was a couple whispering to each other, but they were like a row under me, so I could actually hear what they were whispering to each other. And then within that scene when Josh is like walking out of his room and going downstairs, and when he goes back upstairs and the door is slightly open, I heard, that door was closed before. Now it's open. Thanks for narrating.
That's funny. So we were. I had mentioned before, spoilers, that I do think this movie serves a purpose and does advance the story. So at the end of the second one, like we were talking about, they get hypnotized and supposed to just forget everything, right?
Yeah.
But this movie had a theme of, you can't just bury things, right? You need to remember. You need to be able to deal with the issues. And that's kind of how this one ended, was they were able to get this memory back and deal with it. And, they still remember. So they weren't hypnotized at the end of this.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. This movie had a theme that then, it followed through with, and it ended in a completely different place because they weren't hypnotized like they were in the second one.
Yeah.
So it is like a consequential movie in the franchise. It changes things. It advances things. So I don't understand why people are saying, "Oh, we're just at the same spot we were at the end of 2. It didn't do anything." And I've heard multiple people say that, and I don't.
Yeah, I've heard.
I don't know if they just didn't pick up on the theme of it or what.
Well, I mean, if they were actual critics, they probably didn't, because they're just like, "Oh, it's another horror movie, whatever." Just eat our popcorn and there were some, going back to the first movie, going back to the second movie. There was some re-explaining the further. So I guess in some ways it kind of
right.
There's some stuff that that we've already been through before.
Yeah.
With this movie, it
Yeah.
does further the story, but there are moments that do go back to the first two movies in a
Yeah.
way that it needed to, because these two have no memory anymore of the further. But for the audience, like okay, we've already been here.
Yeah.
We've already, so I guess in a way it kind of, but like that's only part of the movie, so that's not the entire movie. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think this is a perfect, honestly, a perfect ending to the franchise. Like if this were the last movie, it's a really
Yeah.
solid fifth entry in the franchise.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there were some. So when Dalton drew the picture,
Yeah.
of supposedly his dad with, did you think that was actually Josh? Like it didn't look like, it looked like a very burnt like face. Like it didn't look like Josh's actual
It
face.
didn't look like him when he was first drawing it.
Yeah.
But then later on it showed he like added more detail to it as he continued, because he continued to work on it, and when it showed that he added more detail and it zoomed out, then you could definitely tell it was Josh.
It was just a very aggressive, crazy looking.
At first it looked like just a shadowy, like a shadow monster thing.
Yeah. I was thinking
almost like
Leatherface.
Boogeyman. Okay, I was thinking like the Boogeyman kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then as he added more detail and it looked more human, that's when it was like, oh, he's starting to realize this is his dad.
Yeah. I did like that.
And I loved how it came to him slowly, because that's how traumatic memories do come to us. Like we don't just get it all right away. And so, I love that they did it in art. I thought that was so cool to add that aspect, that he can only access this when he's in his subconscious of like in that art form. That's why he was able to access it.
Yeah. I thought we were going to get another jump scare in that moment, because he actually picked up the the hammer, like it kind of like came out of the picture. So I was like, is he
that was cool.
going to come out of the picture too? Like we're going to get a jump scare. We didn't end up getting
interesting.
One. Yeah, because the hammer came out. So why not the rest of the picture?
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool little touch there too.
Yeah.
And this movie actually at the end, I don't know. It's weird. It kind of like, I love movies that have really like depressing endings, but sometimes it is nice to have a movie that has a happy ending. And this one actually like put a smile on my face at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because Dalton, these past like 9 years or whatever, have not been getting along with Josh. Josh hasn't been like around at all. So for him to draw Josh as like trying to kill the family, and he sees that it goes back to the flashback, and then it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Hey, to how kind of like how Josh has been, how he feels Josh has been kind of acting towards the family. But then at the end, he draws the picture of Josh holding Dalton with like the lantern, guiding him out of the further. And I was like, that's awesome. It
did have a really cool wrap up and emotional ending.
Yeah. I loved the family dynamic of the movie. I think that was the best part of the movie. And they did keep to the family, where in each movie, Dalton is the main person that they focus on.
Yeah.
The brother has a little bit of parts in there.
Mhm.
And aside from the first movie where when she was a baby, the little girl,
It was crazy
Yeah.
seeing her as like a 9-year-old. Like she was
Yeah.
a baby just a couple movies ago.
Yeah. But aside from the first movie, she was like crying all the time and
Yeah.
like a big part of the movie. But the
Mhm.
second movie, she was almost not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this movie, it was the same thing.
Yeah,
she was
she-
like
Yeah.
sleeping over at
One
a friend's
scene,
house.
yeah.
And
Yeah. She's in that funeral scene, and that's it.
Yeah.
yeah. And but it's like, but it all made sense because like that's kind of how the family dynamic had been
Yeah.
the whole franchise.
Right.
So yeah, I loved that they used, they didn't ignore that these things happened
Mhm.
and that they both lost their memory of it,
Yeah.
but it still stayed with them inside.
Mhm.
And so they each experienced it in a different way.
Yeah.
I liked the mention of, I always felt like grandma was hiding something from
Oh,
us.
Yeah.
I liked that. I thought that was kind of
Mhm.
cool. And I liked that his brother was the only one he would open up to really and
Yeah.
talk to about this stuff. But his brother was just kind of like, whatever, Dalton, like I'm done dealing with all this with you.
Yeah.
Mom always said
Till
it
he-
was my imagination. Or
Yeah. Till he
not
showed him that
real or
picture.
whatever.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Is this you?" Like, and he just happened to be there when he sent the picture. But yeah, it sucks that the family like fell apart in that, but
I
it
know.
does kind of make sense that there was like, something going on with Josh throughout this entire time, because Dalton forgot the entire year, but Josh, like, he didn't. Did he wipe his entire year away, or was it more like, well, he wiped out part of it, but that Dalton was just in a coma the entire time?
Yeah.
But
I don't
Well-
think that they specify with Josh.
Yeah.
mhm.
But see that, and the more I think about that, it's like that's such a cheap, lazy ending.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna turn the clock back a year,
Mhm.
and that's you can't just do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
hypnotism, I get, like, I can see it, but you
Mhm.
can't just turn the clock back on somebody, and only for this period of time you'll forget.
Yeah. Well, at the
Yeah.
same time, at the end of the second movie, it didn't really give you the impression that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think in
Mhm.
this movie, it made it where it was like, I lost a whole year of my life and whatever. I was in this coma for an entire year or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, the memory loss of what happened didn't have to be that extreme.
Yeah.
I think that it made sense that Josh was struggling so much with the memory loss because he was even struggling with it in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
When these things were happening with Dalton and stuff, and he started having this brain fog in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really, like, made a lot of sense. But the whole, like, how much of his memory was forgotten and stuff with
Yeah.
Dalton especially, like, didn't completely make sense of that.
Yeah, I thought more so it was just forgetting that you have this ability.
Well, and
Mhm.
like forgetting about the going to the further.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
any
that's what I
memory
mean, yeah.
of going to the further.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in a coma for an entire year.
No,
Yeah,
he was. Oh,
Wasn't he?
I
I think he
don't.
was.
He was.
I'm pretty sure he was.
The baby didn't turn like a year old by the time he got out of his coma.
Yeah, I don't know.
The baby was still like a baby. I mean, if it was an entire year, the baby would grow up too.
I don't remember
Yeah.
what she looked like in the second one.
No,
I don't
but
know.
the second he was out of his coma within the first one,
At the end of the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
and she was still an infant.
Yeah, I don't remember what she looked like, but
I think
I know it
yeah.
was months. It wasn't just like
Yeah,
a couple
months.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
'cause, I
wasn't.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah,
couple.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure
Yeah.
how long it was either. I would have assumed like 6 months tops
Yeah.
because it happened in
Yeah.
one house and then they moved. They changed houses, which does take some time. And he's still in the coma, and
Mhm.
that was when stuff like started really happening in that second house. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't think it was a full year either.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because his brother never had like a birthday or anything, you know.
we
Like,
didn't see their whole life.
Yeah.
every
I
day.
mean, but I feel
it
like
jumped.
I
It
feel like
jumped in a lot
if
of
it
time.
was a year
Mhm.
though, they would have shown something that like showed
There
that it was
was
a
a-
year.
There was a mention of, because it wasn't just like he was in a coma and then there was a mention of a time jump in the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it was a year, but
Mhm.
I could
Okay.
be
Well,
wrong.
we're gonna have to go back and look at that.
I thought it was a year. I thought it was mentioned that it had been.
Rewatch the first movie.
Okay.
So
just for that. Just for that.
Yeah.
Like 1
Yeah.
year later.
little detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 5 seconds of the movie.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
yeah, because it's been 4 movies ago, so it could have,
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
Insidious movies ago.
We could
So
definitely
we
not
could be all off, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll hear about it in the comments.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. So that was our review on Insidious: The Red Door. Go back and listen to all the other ones, watch the
Yeah.
other ones, and get caught up before you go. Or, well, you probably already saw it at this point, since you're still watching or listening. But yeah, let us know what you thought. And yeah, look out for some of the newer films coming out, like Talk to Me. Hopefully, we'll be able to see Cobweb at some point.
At some point,
And yeah, I'm hearing that one's pretty good. So,
Mhm.
all right.
Are we gonna do our rating?
Ranking them?
Ranking. Yeah.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
But what is what is the I need this. Why? What is the fourth one?
The Last Key.
Yeah.
That's the last key.
Yeah. It's the
Mhm.
one with we learn about Elise as a kid. When she was a kid.
Yeah. Okay. I was
Prequel
thinking that
to the
was
prequel.
the third one. The third one was the one with the other family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna say The Last Key is number 5.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say Insidious 2 is actually my number 4. Then I'll say The Red Door. It's number 3. Insidious 3 is number 2. And then Insidious number 1.
Okay, well, I don't need to give mine because that's exactly mine.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And it's
Yeah.
funny because that is kind of what was in my head.
Okay.
But based off my ratings,
Yeah.
You gave 3 the highest, I believe. 3
3,
was your
3 is the highest. And I think that this one was the lowest, but I don't know what I gave 4.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I really don't
You-
think that I
I
like
think you gave
4
it
as
lower
much.
than this.
Okay.
I
So
would say.
I
Oh, yeah, I
would
don't know.
have it with my memory, and after talking about them all, I think I would have done the same thing that you did. 4, 5.
I did 4 too.
No, 4, 2. Yeah, because 2 I only gave it a 90. So 4, 2,
only gave it a
5.
90.
Yeah, but based off of my scores, I think actually 5 though. While I liked the family stuff, there were the writing was just so off that I think that's what really lowered my score.
You are
on
not a
this.
fan of Scott Teams.
No, apparently not.
Halloween Kills in this one.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand like
How people interact.
yeah, like just normal
Just natural conversation.
natural interactions.
Yeah.
Well, you think that because his family has been like, you know, the actors have been around each other for so long with these 3 movies that would just kind of come out naturally between them because they've spent so much time together.
Yeah, but they spent time together when they were younger.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, it's been like 9 years.
Yeah, and this is like a grown adult now going off to college. So I don't know. I feel like they didn't still have chemistry, you know, and so it needed to be written in.
And they have a different relationship in this anyway. Like, they're supposed to not have chemistry in this movie. For most of it,
but not awkward. Like, I don't know. It was just none of it was actual conversations you would actually have. But I'm gonna go 4, 5, 2. See, but I want to put 3 and then 1 because I think 1. I don't know why I rated 3 higher than 1 in my original ratings.
I don't either.
But maybe it was just
you really liked
grabbed
it.
Me. Yeah. I did like the characters in that one. I really did like the characters. But 1, that grabbed me in right away. I loved that movie.
Yeah.
And of the ones that I would want to watch over again, I would want to watch 1 again.
Well, I think 1 had the only like dark ending, I want to say.
They all had a pretty dark ending. At least
3 didn't. 3 didn't. I don't. 2 didn't.
Elise, I think that one ended with Elise seeing that demon from the first movie.
3 ended with them going to the door, like her going.
That was 4. Ended with like the whole her going through all the doors
with the lantern.
No. I'm talking about with the person knocking on the door, and
with Jenna Ortega, right? Wasn't
no?
She
that was the second one. That's how the second one ended.
Second one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where she goes to this other family and.
No, I thought that was the end of the third because I remember saying like they never did anything with that.
I think you're right. I think it was the second one. I think Joel's right. Because the third one doesn't do anything with that.
The third one doesn't do anything with that.
Yeah. So she, so Elise isn't in that one, but she is as like a spirit. And that one ends with the 2, Lee Winnell and the other, I forgot what their names were in the movies. Knocking on someone's door, and Jenna Ortega is a little girl, and she's like, "Who's that behind you? Who's that woman?" And it's Elise, and like, "Who are you talking about?" And then that's pretty much how that one ends. They go into the house, and then there's like a spirit or something in there. But they don't. You just, I guess, assume that they just took care of whatever it was going on there.
Yeah. So that's the thing is, I guess as you go further into the series, I guess you realize like that's kind of how they end them, is showing that Elise continues to work with people.
But the first one just had the darkest ending where it was like, oh dang, like he just killed her. Like, oh dang, what's going on here? He just, he was taken, and now that's the end.
And that's it. Yeah.
I saw an interview where James Wan actually had no plans to make a sequel. Like that was it. That's how they were ending it. Even though it seemed like that was the first part of 2 parts. Yeah. Because she's like, "I'm behind you," and she turns around and gasps. That's how it ends.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a season finale type of thing, and there's going to be another one coming around. But they had no plans to make another one after that.
Just wanted to make it as dark as possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's our ranking. And now we're actually
this-
done. Go ahead.
This has been Scare Talk.
Right.
Sleep tight.
Don't let Dalton bite.